In 1979, British Airways made a tiny mistake that cost them $5 billion. They canceled one man's flight. He took it very personally. So personally that he launched his own airline just to compete with them. What followed became one of the most brutal rivalries in business history. The man's name was Richard Branson. Before he became Sir Richard Branson, he was a 29-year-old record label owner, just trying to get to the British Virgin Islands. But when British Airways canceled the last flight of the day, leaving him and dozens of others stranded, Branson made a split-second decision, one that would eventually lead to a $5 billion airline empire. Frustrated but quick thinking, Branson grabbed a small blackboard and scribbled, "Virgin Airlines, $39 one way to BVI." Then he walked through the terminal, calling out, "Who wants to join me? I've chartered a plane." Within minutes, he filled the flight with stranded passengers and covered the $2,000 charter cost. That day, Virgin Airlines was born. While flying on his plane, a light bulb went off in Branson's mind. If I can fill a plane with frustrated British Airways customers this easily, why not start my own airline? It would take 5 more years to make it happen. But he never forgot that feeling of being stranded by a corporate giant that simply didn't care. That spark of frustration became the fuel for Virgin Atlantic. June 22, 1984, a single leased Boeing 747 took off from London Gatwick to Newark. That flight marked the birth of Virgin Atlantic, built on one aircraft, one route, one bold mission: make flying great again. British Airways executives laughed. To them, Branson's airline was a joke. They had no idea a war had just begun. BA's chairman, Lord King, publicly mocked Branson. He's too old to rock and roll and too young to fly. But Branson saw something BA didn't. Customers were fed up with the soulless corporate experience of most airlines. He knew they wanted something different, something personal. British Airways wasn't just the UK's flag carrier, it was a monopolistic giant with 60% market share of UK flights. Strong government ties, a massive marketing budget, recently privatized and led by aggressive management. On paper, they should have crushed Virgin without breaking a sweat. But Branson turned his underdog status into a weapon, doing the complete opposite of what British Airways stood for. Free ice cream for passengers, in-flight massages, stand-up bars on planes, fashion-designed uniforms for the crew, flying ladies, beautifully painted planes that turned heads. Virgin Atlantic wasn't just an airline, it was an experience that BA couldn't match. As Virgin grew from 1 to 10 aircraft by 1991, British Airways began to feel the heat. That's when they launched what would later be called the Dirty Tricks campaign, one of the most unethical corporate espionage operations in business history. British Airways didn't just compete, they sabotaged Virgin at every turn, hacked Virgin's systems, called Virgin's customers, falsely claiming flights were canceled, spread rumors to journalists about Virgin's financial troubles, poached passengers at airports with lies about Virgin spied relentlessly, gathering intel to crush Branson's growing empire. By 1992, the pressure from BA had taken its toll. Branson was forced to sell his beloved Virgin records just to keep his airline afloat. But instead of giving up, he did something unprecedented. He declared war on British Airways, publicly. In 1992, Branson took the battle to court, suing BA for libel. As the case unfolded, shocking evidence emerged. BA staff admitted to shredding incriminating documents. Whistleblowers came forward, exposing the Dirty Tricks campaign. BA executives refused to testify, further incriminating themselves. The aviation world watched in shock as the corporate giant was slowly unraveled. In 1993, British Airways surrendered. They paid £1 million to Branson personally, £250,000 to Virgin Atlantic, all legal fees. And they also issued a formal public apology. BA's chairman, Lord King, was forced to resign in disgrace. But Branson's most brilliant move came next. Instead of keeping the money, he distributed it to every Virgin Atlantic employee as a BA bonus. The message was clear. They tried to kill us. We're still here, and we're all in this fight together. The David versus Goliath victory created unmeasurable brand value. Virgin bookings surged 30%. Staff loyalty became unbreakable. The media portrayed BA as corporate villains. Virgin's brand reputation soared. The £1 million settlement generated $100 million plus in brand value. So what can we learn from Sir Richard Branson and Virgin Atlantic? Challenge with purpose. Branson didn't just compete. He wanted to transform the airline experience. Leverage your underdog status. Being small gave Virgin the ability to offer unique experiences, unlike the giants. Fight back when attacked. Branson used strategy, integrity, and public pressure to overcome unethical tactics. Invest in your people. Branson's decision to share the settlement with his team built unbreakable loyalty. Brand loyalty is priceless. Virgin's victory led to a surge in bookings and skyrocketing brand value. When you fight with purpose, leverage your unique position, and put people first, you can turn even the most brutal battles into monumental success.